This is Mike Anuzzi at musicaccelerator.com. I'm excited to talk with my great friend. He is the stage manager for Vina Robles Amphitheater in Paso Robles, California, a jack of all trades musician. First, I met him as an incredible drummer, but he is the type of person you put any instrument in front of, and he's going to make that sound like he's been playing it his whole life. He has one of the most professional home studios that I've ever seen, and recently he's been writing, recording, and producing a song a month in his studio, and the product that he's getting out of it is simply amazing. He's done studio work, performed live, and toured with countless numbers of bands around the U.S. Everybody, this is Jennings Jacobsen. Jennings, how's it going today?
Oh, it's going great, Mike. Thanks a lot, man. That was a very gracious intro. Thanks, man.
Oh, absolutely, man. Hey, I wanted to ask you, what got you started in music?
Well, my mom and my dad, really, mama and daddy, they were music collectors, and my dad was a musician, and I really just aspired to have that be part of my life. Lots of records, lots of tapes, lots of CDs. There was always music playing in my house.
That is so cool, and I'm sure that, as a young musician, you got a lot of influence with this. So how did you kind of get started in learning your skill as a young musician, and later going on as a studio guy with live concert production, all that? Can you talk about that?
Well, I didn't have a very conventional upbringing for music. I mean, maybe conventional to some folks. I really just loved music. My parents had a lot of it around, and my dad had a huge record collection. And I really just would come home every day after school, starting at about second or third grade, and I had drums, sticks and pads and stuff before that to practice rudiments and whatnot. My parents finally got me a drum set, when I was in my probably 8 or 9 years old, and I would just come home every day and close my eyes and go up to the wall of records and pick something and then put it on a tape and then play to it, no matter what it was. And it really gave me a really diverse palette. And then once I started getting older, junior high school, I started, really nailing down what I liked playing. And I did a lot of that. I really just dove into the things that I enjoyed. And for my formidable years as a kid, I probably spent 4 to 6 hours a day playing drums, in some kind of form. And that's really how I got my start. I just loved doing it and always had a knack for timing and just took it as far as I could on my own. I never really took formal lessons. I had a lot of influences. I mean, from a young age, I've been, I've loved all the different musicians that have been around the central coast of California, and am now in a position where some of the people that I idolized then, I get to play with, and I get to, do recordings with, and it's been a lot of fun, man.
Wow, that is really cool. Thanks for sharing that. It seems like it's more of a dive in and go kind of thing for learning your skill, huh?
Yeah, well, in my case, definitely. I mean, my parents didn't have a lot of money. They didn't have the money to put me through formal lessons, and I knew that. And my dad being a musician, or my uncle being a musician, I had great influences in my life.
Absolutely, man. Hey, so I guess with that in mind, you kind of had to be the one to take the lead on this. If you wanted to do it, if you wanted to learn it, if you wanted to play it, you were the one that made the effort to go and listen to that record and practice over and over until you could play that. So what is it that got you from having that ear and having that ability to I guess that drive to want to play, to actually making a career in the music industry?
Wow. I just jumped headfirst into it. I knew at a very young age, I mean, I started playing in clubs when I was 15, 16 years old. And I was fortunate enough to have friends that were, just a little older than me, senior in high school, out of, first year of college kind of age friends who took me under their wing, and we played, and I really it just started as nothing. It started as a weed and just grew into a tree. You know what I mean?
Wow.
Right out of high school, in high school, I was playing with some different groups. I played with a group named Mosaic. I played with a group named Solstice, and they were all comprised of just my friends in my local group, you know. Um, and I got noticed by people around the area in different ways. And my great friend now, Eric Cotton, who I think you know as well,
Yeah.
plays for the Cheese Balls in San Francisco and the Bay Area, had a band back then called the Rocksteady Posse. And their drummer, Dale Moon, who's a great friend of mine, was having some shoulder trouble, and they needed a sub for a tour. And it turned out that it was a great outlet for me right after I graduated high school to go out and experience my first taste of what it's like to be on the road
Wow.
and play in front of thousands of people. And they were at a point in their career where they were getting great gigs, and I just slipped right into it. After I got home from that experience, I settled down for a little while and just practiced some more and played with some other local bands and just made money as a musician. But I also had other jobs. I mean, you know, like you said, jack of all trades. I've done my fair share of grunt work in this world, but yeah, I mean, it's just been a progression, you know. And then I met Damon Castillo, and he gave me a wealth of musical knowledge and taught me how to play in a manner that was technical, that I remembered my volume level, that I had, you know, a great sense of dynamics. And working with those guys turned me into a completely different musician, because everything I had done before was a little more free form. You know, you never really knew what was going to happen. But with Damon's music, there's always that element of there's a very strict form, but then you can take it outside when it's appropriate. You know, and that taught me a lot about my musicianship, big time.
Absolutely. And just
Yeah.
just a testament to you know, my awe of you as a musician. That's kind of where I started seeing you play with, or started seeing you play with Damon Castillo Band. And if you haven't heard of Damon's music, definitely go check it out. Jennings, you were like the guy that always welcomed us on stage. I got the chance to open for you guys a couple times with my band, and you were always the one that was so warm, inviting us up on the stage, letting us borrow your gear in the moment, and always very encouraging before, during, and after the show. So we really appreciate that. I'm kind of going to move forward a little bit.
Sure.
Jennings, what's your day-to-day life like?
Well, you know, I greet the wife, I greet the kids. I head out the door, I go to the Vina Robles Amphitheater, and I do a whole bunch of work. You know, it's not just the shows that I do up there. I with my construction background, I'm also, you know, helping that place really do all of the maintenance and just, you know, there's a whole lot that goes on between shows and when we're in our off season that a whole lot of people don't see. So I'm just busting my butt every day, man. You know, and you know, I'm also playing a lot of gigs. I recently just did an album with a group called Cafe Musique, and did about half the tunes on their album, and been doing CD release parties for them. But my day to day is just like a whole lot of other people's, man. I get up in the morning and I brush my teeth, and then I get out the door and I do my work. I come home, and then I get to go in the studio and have fun, you know.
Absolutely. And another testament to Jennings' performance aspect, Cafe Musique. I got the chance to see you guys a couple months ago at one of the release parties, or about a month ago, and it was one of the coolest shows I have ever seen in my life, and I've been spreading the word about that band, so definitely check them out. You know, as the stage manager for Vina Robles and playing with a whole lot of bands, and I guess seeing the whole spectrum of everything, what kind of characteristics or work ethic have you noticed between the most professional bands that you have worked with?
Well, you know, on the level that I'm doing it, everybody, for the most part, has really wrapped their heads around everything that needs to happen for their own individual production. When I come in and meet the production leads for whoever may be coming through, you know, everyone has been really wonderful. I mean, I'm doing about my 81st show up there starting May 14th. And I can't really say I've had a bad experience with anybody. I mean, you know, everybody has their days where they're not going to be as cheerful or whatever, especially when you're on the road. I mean, you live in a bus for 6 months of the year. It's never, you know, a treat. But I'd say going into all of those situations, you know, people are highly prepared. in this industry when you're talking about professionally touring acts that come with 4 tractor trailers full of stuff and a full staff, and it's really a pleasure for me because I've seen all of that on the musician side, and I've seen all of it on the production side, and it's a great position for me personally because I get to use my interpersonal skills. I get to use my skills as a manager. People, I'm really great at putting people where they need to be. I see someone for what they're worth and what they provide to the environment, and I put them there. And that's my job. That's basically what my job is that I get to pick the best of the Central Coast to come and make Vina Robles Amphitheatre look great to every tour that comes through.
It is absolutely a beautiful venue as well, Jennings. So thank you for all your work from a fan's point of view.
Sure.
And I think that's also, it just goes to show, you started this at a young age. You've had the experience. You've seen a lot of different acts coming through, performing in bands, and being a fan of so many different bands. I mean, that experience is just priceless. So real quick, what kind of shows are you excited to have at Vina Robles this summer?
This year, I'm really looking forward to Tower Power. David Garibaldi on drums is always one of my favorite drummers. Looking forward to seeing Dolly Parton for sure. Glad to welcome back Jackson Browne, and Bonnie Raitt is going to be a really wonderful show to have her back. It's hard to, at a certain point, it's really hard to say what's my favorite, because when you see these people come and perform live, everybody is just giving it their all. And to see people performing on that level really is a treat. And I feel so fortunate that I get to experience every single show that happens up there. From
awesome.
a personal, intimate view,
Absolutely.
Yeah. And it really does something for my own playing as well, because I get to immerse myself in people doing it on a level that I've experienced in the past, but certainly not as frequently as most of the acts that are coming through. And it's just a pleasure to be involved in it.
And I know that you've had the opportunity as well to perform in several bands on that stage too. So I
was the first musician to ever set up and play on the stage.
Wow.
Which was really great. Yeah.
How special and well deserved as well. So, I want to kind of then ask you a little bit about your musical endeavors. Earlier, I had mentioned that you're producing new music all the time. And Can you talk to us a little bit about what's going on in your personal musical path?
Sure. Well, for me, it's been a long time coming for me to have a home studio and really be able to come in here and just perform and write and just see what happens. I mean, it's all really a mystery. I mean, I recently did a tune a week and a half, 2 weeks ago that, I had a specific day I could do it because I've been so busy. But I came in here and I flipped up my process and wrote a tune that I'm really proud of. And it's really just that. It's me having an environment to be able to express myself musically and not have any second thoughts about the ideas I'm having, and just create. It's not to make money. It's not to have fame. It's not to have the the ritz and the glamour. It's really just it's a personal thing for me. It's an expectation of myself that I get the music done in my time frame that I've set for myself, which is one song a month all year. And I like that goal for me. But it's really just, it really makes me happy to create. And I'm glad that I have an environment that's just steps from my front door that I can just do that,
It is awesome. It sounds like, all in all, it sounds like your outlook in music has always been dive head first, get it done. And that is really, really awesome. Jennings, do you have any other gigs coming up that you're really excited about, whether it's you playing the drums or being involved in a show or putting something together, anything like that?
Well, I got my regular stuff going on. I'm so busy, it's hard for me to remember all the dates off the top of my head as far as my personal shows. But Yeah, I mean, I'm always playing with Jill Knight, and she plays everywhere on the Central Coast, and I love playing with Jill. I'll be doing a select amount of gigs with the Zongo All Stars this summer. ZongoAllStars.com, JillKnight.com. All of those people have websites, so you can see where those dates are happening. Cafe Musique, I'm going to be playing in Santa Cruz on the 22nd, and Carmel on the 23rd for CD release parties. Yeah, and then my first show at Vina is May 14th with Jason Bonham and the Led Zeppelin Experience. That should be a great rock show and a great opener to our season. And really, I'm just excited to be part of the industry in the way that I am, and be able to be free to create, and be part of producing shows and be part of making shows, and the interaction, because it's really just comes down to people. You're dealing with people and expression and communication. It's like anything else, but you really have to know how to communicate to get all those different things done, and that's what I do best. And so I'm glad to thrive doing it all.
Absolutely. And it's really great to hear all of your efforts around the Central Coast. If you are a California native or at all around the California Central Coast, the music is probably tied back to Jennings Jacobsen. He is locked in with so many different bands and always involved in the scene. Been a super big support and the backbone of several bands as the drummer. Recorded for a ton of different artists. It is really incredible to hear all the new music you have coming up. And I have one more question for you, Jennings.
Sure.
What piece of gear do you rely on most?
What piece of gear do I rely on most? Oh, you know what I have to say? I have to say my Yamaha Maple Custom drums. They are my workhorses. They are what I take to every single gig, and they have been in my arsenal for a long time and give me every single thing I've ever wanted out of them. Yeah, that has to be it.
Awesome. They are really a staple. When I see those drums set up on a stage, I know that you're the guy sitting behind them. It is such a pleasure talking with you today, Jennings. I appreciate you sharing your time, your experience, all the good things that you have going on in music. Jennings, thank you so much.
No problem. You're welcome, Michael. Thank you.
All right, this is Mike Anuzzi at musicaccelerator.com, and we'll catch up again soon.